Excellent. So we are continuing our sermon series called In All Things. We're going through the book of Colossians. I encourage you to read along with us. We're in chapter 2 this week. We'll be in chapter 3 for the last 2 weeks. And chapter 4 is basically a big goodbye. But I encourage you to kind of read Colossians as we kind of go through there. It's just 4 chapters. You can do it. Like, I have faith in you, right? Like that's it's not bad, but it's a cool book. And I have to say, I moved here with all this. I moved here in 2016, and I learned a valuable lesson when I moved here. In fact, all my moves have looked something like this, with a car carrier and a big, long moving truck, the biggest one that lets you drive without a CDL. The fact that they don't make you get a CDL and you can drive this across country is absolutely ridiculous, because you're looking at truckers right in the eye when you're looking at them, right? Like those things are huge, and you know, I drove, and you learn a valuable lesson, and the valuable life lesson that I learned while driving one of these with a itty bitty little trailer behind it with such a long truck is that you always got to be moving forward. All right? Like that's backing up is no good. And I got to tell you the plight of this truck right here, because I had a statistic where I had moved 5 times in 5 years. I've driven these trucks all over the country. One of my favorite statistics about me driving one of these trucks is I did my internship down in South Texas. Some of you think San Antonio is South Texas. I was 4 hours south of San Antonio in McAllen, right? Like, so I did that. And so my favorite statistic is this, though. We drove from St. Louis, Missouri to McAllen, Texas. It took us 2 days. We stopped to sleep halfway. What was halfway? Not everyone at once. Houston, no, it wasn't Houston. It was Dallas, though. It was Dallas, Texas, was halfway from St. Louis to McAllen down there. South Padre Island and all that stuff, you know, that's all that stuff down there is right there together. So that blew my mind, driving a truck across the country like that. But we rented this one, and I found out in all my good history of renting these trucks is that you got to go to the Penske dealer to go get them. Like, you can go to Home Depot, but those people don't know what they're talking about, right? Like, you get what you want every time when you go to the Penske dealer. So I was in Northwest Arkansas. I said I want to pick it up from the Penske dealer, went over there, picked it up, and the guy's showing me the truck, the trailer. We're going to have to go hook up to the trailer here in a little bit. And we're looking at everything and looking it over, and then I noticed there's a sticker where you fill up the tank, and it says unleaded fuel only. And I went, no, I can't have this truck. This is a gas truck. I'm driving across the country. I want a diesel truck. And he's like, oh, we don't have any of those available. I'm like, no, I need a diesel truck. Because with all my deep experience, there's a level of bouginess and sophistication that comes when you have a diesel truck. You know what it is? At the truck stops, you don't have to park where you guys all fill up your Honda Civics. You can go where the big boys are, over there. Like, and there's all kinds of greatness over there. One of them is, I don't know if you've ever been back there before, but the nozzle is twice as big. It won't even go where you fill your car up. It's twice big, and it's like it's got recoil when you get it started. You know, like all that as it's filling up the 60 or so gallons that those things have in there. But the thing is you never have to back up. It never is tight. You can always be going forward, but they gave me a gas truck. So this is our first stop. Like, over there, that truck behind my red car, over there, that truck's in a parking spot. I was right up against him, right? Taking up all the room. It didn't stop there. This is a truck stop. It's a Pilot Travel Center. Again, you can see by where the sign is, the edge of the parking spots. The back of my trailer is in the parking spots there. Here's another one. You guys have probably even stopped at this one. This is at the TA in Wildwood, right there at where the Turnpike and 75 meet. Right there. That used to be where I went to get my Popeye's chicken fix when I was traveling, but now we have plenty of Popeyes here. We've been blessed. Hallelujah. Like that's over here. But you can see if you've stopped there, you know that's a huge spot. Like it's a huge area, and yet I'm just sticking way out into the traffic, and I always, like you're pulling in, eyes wide, like, all right, don't want to back up. And listen, I'm good about backing up a trailer. I'm good at it. I grew up with horses. Those things are beasts of burden. I grew up driving a horse trailer all over creation with these trucks and all these things like that. I'm good at backing trucks up. I look at you fools when you get a boat or a jet ski and you're trying to pull it into the slip. Like that's like, I look over there and laugh. That's a small trailer in a big truck. But do you know what's even worse? All my friends that get these little slices of fresh something, right? You can't back those up at all. Like that's a no backup affair. Like you going over there. So moving across the country reminds me to keep moving forward. That idea of keep moving forward is how Paul characterizes what he's talking about in what is our chapter 2 of Colossians. He's moving forward. Because you remember, like he hasn't really met these people in this congregation before. He hears about this church in Colossae, and he's in prison. He's in prison, and he writes a letter of encouragement to them. And in his letter of encouragement begins kind of like it continues on in chapter 2 like this. This is 6 and 7. This is right before what Coley read. He goes, therefore, as you have received Christ Jesus as Lord, so walk in him. You can see that moving forward. Walk in him, that rooted and built up in him, established in the faith. Remember we talked about what that establishment looked like last week and the week before. This established and built up in the faith, just as you were taught, abounding in thanksgiving, right? Like walk in Christ, be moving forward. Like that's, as Christians, we're always moving closer and closer to Christ. In the new member class yesterday, we talked about how Christ is the center of our faith, and that we're all walking towards that, the cross of Jesus and the resurrection after it. We're all moving forward to that he is in the midst. So don't stop and look at the old ways, right? This is what Paul is saying. And you can see in the very next verse, and it was the first one that Coley read just a little bit ago, he says, see to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. All right. I have that highlighted in red. Fancy, right? I figured out how PowerPoint works. Like that's, we got that highlighted in red. Does anyone know why I have this highlighted in red? Does anyone know? Do you know it? Okay, all right. You do know, you don't realize that you know. Like this is like classic seminary. Like when we were getting ready for this, I was like, oh yeah, that's this verse. So I'm just seeing if anyone just knows off the top of their mind. Because English, what'd you say? Israel. Oh, that's, you guys know how I preach. It's not quite Israel, but it's close. It's close. It's very close. That's all right. So, but we'll get into that in a second. Because no one knows here, I can bury the lead more. So what, and that's just why Israel is a good guess. So when you look at what Coley read earlier, we're not going to read it here today because we'll just be reading again, all that stuff. When you see it, he suddenly starts talking about circumcision and then baptism and all those things that are classic to Judaism. One of the things that the church was struggling with during this time was this sect of people that we call now Judaizers. And if you want to read more about Judaizers, Paul writes in Galatians extensively about it. So read Galatians as homework too over there this week. He writes extensively about it. He's writing a little bit about it here. But these Judaizers, what they were people that they kind of were like, hey, this Christianity kind of has come out of Judaism. Why would we throw away Judaism? Like, let's just go to the synagogue and kind of just merge it all together. We're like, we can go over there and it would just be a great little party just there together. Like we could do the Jewish parts of the faith and all of that. And they would look out through the scriptures and they would look at them and they'd look up and go, and they would make eyes with you, Nancy. And they were like, I saw you eating that BLT. That's a sin. You need to rid that from your life. And then they would look at me at my birthday party last week when we had pulled pork sandwiches. And it was a beautiful pulled pork sandwich. I was putting Texas Pete on top of it and everything. It was wonderful, right? And they're like, you've got sin in your life, Pastor. You need to get away from that because God doesn't want you to eat all of that. You can't eat pork or shrimp or lobster. Listen, I've been to some of your homes. You've fed me shrimp and lobster. Over there, that's bad, sinful, right? Like over there. And then they would basically say things like, oh man, isn't the grace of Christ amazing? And they would talk, yes, the grace of Christ is so abounding in good news, but I see you Gentiles have converted over. Guys, line up. We're going to celebrate that grace of Christ. Snip, snip, right? Like they would all celebrate in that way. They would begin to look back to the traditions that came before it this time and go, these are still valid and good here. And Paul is saying, be careful of this deceptive philosophy of these Judaizers, of these people. They are taking you captive. Now let's get into the Greek here for a second. Because in English, it doesn't translate right. It doesn't translate right. So when we look at take you captive, I'm going to show you some Greek. Are you guys going to be able to handle it? You guys all right? You guys all right? All right. Oh, man. Oh, hold on, right? Like, taking captive is that synagogon is the word. What does that sound like? Sounds a little bit like synagogue, right? Sounds a little bit like synagogue. Like Paul, we believe that Paul is being clever here. That he's like, be careful of those synagogon, those in the synagogue that are wanting to take you captive by their philosophy. And it's a philosophy that held people so long. And we see Peter over and over struggled with this too. We see him struggle with it with Jesus. We see him struggle with it in Acts. I mean, it's not till Peter's way into his ministry that he meets a man named Cornelius. And Cornelius, and Jesus, by the Spirit, shows Peter that all things are made clean. And he's able to go have pulled pork sandwiches. The beauty of pulled pork sandwiches with this guy named Cornelius. Right? That is what he's doing. And Paul is saying, be careful that you're not held captive. Held captive by all this. Now, we don't struggle with the synagogue anymore. I don't see too many people that are coming up to me and going, boy, man, you need to lay off the pork talk, right? Like you're really leading people, and we need to get circumcised. We got to have that happen too, right? Like snip, snip. Like I don't see too many people do that, but I do hear a lot of folks that do the same move where they're like, man, the grace and glory and love of Jesus is so good, but, right? And I think that but in a lot of us comes from an honest place. That there may be something that we're frustrated with right now. That there's something that we're frustrated with in our own lives. That we remember a time when, man, us and Jesus, we were just clicking, right? That it didn't get any better than us and Jesus. Like we're going over there, and that clicking in that time has just felt dry for a certain amount of time. And you're like, I just want that old time feeling back. I just want that. And the problem is that desire for that old time feeling, I think Paul would tell us that it's holding us captive. Because that desire for that old time feeling, that feeling of going back and being like this or that or anything like that, that isn't us falling back into the grace of God. But it's chasing after that emotive stance. It's chasing after that feeling. It's chasing after that and making that kind of the ruler of it all. And it just holds us captive because Jesus is the head of the body of the church. And he's moving us forward and finding new places for us to be his hands and feet, to bless those all around. And you look at what Paul is saying here. he immediately goes after circumcision. And he's like, that's not what it is about. Because this old thing, because circumcision, I mean, that was a thing of identity. Like, I am an Escher, right? Us Eschers, like some of you may have met my sister or my parents or something like that. We're pretty gregarious people. We're fun at parties. It's just the way it goes, all right? It's a hallmark of who we are, right? And I take a lot of identity in that. Like, to the Jewish faith, they took all that identity from circumcision. And Paul is going, but you have been in your baptisms buried with Christ. That identity, all that there, died with Christ in the tomb, right, in your baptisms. And when you come out, it's like a rising out of the tomb. It's like a rising on that Easter morning, all new and fresh and ready to run towards Jesus and wherever he's leading us. But the problem is that we often will get frustrated with ourselves and what's happening in our lives, and we become held captive to this. We do it outside of religious circles too. I'll take an example. You guys remember malls? You guys remember malls? Yeah. Yeah, they're still around, but they are a shadow of their former glory. If you watch Stranger Things on Netflix, especially the last season, not this current one, like they really show that well. Like the mall used to be the place. There used to be a store in the mall that was called. It just left me, so I'm looking at it in my sermon here. Successories. There we go. Successories. Now, I don't know if you remember this store at all, but it was one of those that was just filled with these guys. You remember these? Yeah, everyone remembers this. Whose dentist didn't have one of these on the wall, right? Like over there. And you remember these? We still have this stuff today. Like it's like the live, laugh, love, like shiplap stuff that you have on the walls and all that stuff. Like this stuff, you look at it, it's like, oh my goodness, this is so inspiring. A guy on a mountain, and it says, make it happen. And then, I know you guys can't read it, so I'll read it for you. It has a Michael Jordan quote underneath it. All right? It says, some people want it to happen. Some wish it would happen. Others make it happen. Thanks, Michael. And so, but you think about that. And think of the captivity that puts us under. Yeah, it's motivational. Yeah, it's great. But what it's saying is that in like if you want to be better, if you want to be more, if you want to be valued more, you just got to work harder. And you got to do all these things. And what does that tell to ourselves? It's like, I'm not good enough now. I'm not loved enough now. In my job, I'm not successful enough. And man, I think the biggest thing I talk to you guys about are frustrations with your children, right? I can't believe my kids are doing this, right? Over there, and you just want to like dive in and just do more and more and more. And the whole thing is just like you want to do more and more. I need to be valued more and more, and valued and valued and valued and valued. And I think that's what Paul is getting at. Because after all, but right before the circumcision talk and all that, it says, for in Christ the fullness of the deity dwells bodily, and you have been filled with him who is the head and the ruler of all authority. And when you get to the other side of all of that, he says, other side of all the circumcision and the baptism talk, he says, by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demand, this he set aside, nailing it to the cross. Listen, there have been a lot of times, I receive a lot of validation when this place is all filled up. I receive a lot of validation when we do amazing things like an Alzheimer's daycare, that I can go to the convention and be like, look at what I've done. Bask in my glory, right? Like, you see that? We try to receive I receive a lot of validation, but there's sometimes when all of you somehow synchronize the clocks and go on vacation all at the same time. Right? And I'm like, well, dang. No one loves me, that type of thing. But we all feel that way. And we receive those crushing blows in our own lives. We receive we receive those things and we're just like, I just need to work harder and be more and trying to seek that validation. And look at what Paul says. He goes, no. Already you were buried with Christ. And you've come alive with him. He canceled your record of debt. That stood with all of its legal demands. You're fine. And so, like, you're good. So let's not make it a habit of like, oh my goodness, things aren't going as well as I thought they would be. We just need to go back and do whatever we did back then. Because it's tempting. Now hear me. If you want to start doing more, that's fine. But before you do that, begin it with, God cannot love me any more or less than he loves me right now. I'm not forgiven any more or less than I am right now. So if you want to do more with your kids, don't do it to seek more validation. Do it just to have fun with them. If you want to do it more in your job, don't do it because you'll be more loved or grace. Just do it because you just want to do more, right? If you want, know that you're loved so much right now by God and that he has canceled everything. And when you think you can grasp ahead of that, you can be like the truck with the dolly on the back of it. And you can just be moving forward in Christ. You're loved. God loves you. And you're forgiven. I think that's good news. We'll end right there. Jesus, we thank you that you love us and that you're with us. Lord, help us to continue moving forward, not seeking validation in how great things used to be, but moving forward, following after you, seeing the ways that we can bring the gospel as your hands and feet to everyone that is around us. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Excellent. Thank you so much for supporting